Hey there, everyone. Welcome to the Rookie Corner podcast. Today is going to be a kind of a chill podcast day, a smaller panel than we normally have. It's Wednesday. It's been a nice day. I got my guest with me at Pocket Jacks Comics. Want to say hello?
Hello.
It'll probably be a minute or two before people come in. I noticed too right before I went live that there's like 4 other people that are going live, like World Class Bullshitters and Midnight's Edge After Dark. That's where a lot of my subscribers go to as well. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if we'll have a lot of interactive in the chat, but we'll see. Just in case people wonder as they pour on in, I'm gonna. Okay. Black Angus said he can come on in. Sweet. So he's one of my YouTube buddies that actually kind of, in a way, got me into reading more comic books. I'm kind of a noob when it comes to comics.
I'm trying to figure out if I've heard that before. Like, I feel like I may have live streamed. I don't know. I do a lot of, I'm promoting comics a lot, and I do a lot of live streams. And then, you're on a panel with a bunch of different people that are all going by monikers, and I may have done something with him at one point. I don't know.
Yeah, it's possible. We have I think he's on War Campaign once.
Yeah.
He's.
I was just chatting with those folks on Twitter.
Okay, nice. Well, speaking of the devil, what's up, Angus?
Hey. What's up, Rook?
Going good, man. Going good. Cut us just at the beginning.
What happened to your avatar?
What do you mean?
All I see is a T for your name.
I see a picture of a guy with a camera.
Yeah, sometimes it'll do that in Hangouts for some people, but I don't know. Yeah. That's all good. Yeah, the Red Gaze is here. What's up, Red Gaze?
Hey, yeah, I sent him over here. He's one of the new guys in the collective I've been trying to boost.
All right, nice. Yeah, I was just telling Pocket Jacks here. Do you have I actually don't know your actual name, man.
Preston.
Okay, yeah, Preston. Hear about how I got into comics a little bit and how you, in a way, have been getting me more into it. I'm reading The Watchmen that Angus actually sent me so I can read. I'm like maybe 20 pages into it so far, like the full graphic novel, The Watchmen. It'll be my first time reading it, and then I'll see the movie because I haven't seen the movie either. So.
Oh, you never ever seen it? I didn't realize that.
Well, like I think I saw some of it on TV sometimes, but never actually watched the full movie. I didn't really care. I was just like, it looks like something. But
yeah, I definitely agree. When it was like popular, I was in like my last year or two of high school, and all like the Hot Topic teeny bopper types, My Chem Romance fans and stuff. They're like, Watchmen, it's so cool. I'm just like, I don't want to hang with that crowd, But then, I end up watching it and reading. I'm like, holy shit! Like, yeah, I totally get the Snyderverse, even with its shortcomings.
Oh yeah, yep, I got you. Well, before we got into the comic topics, I was going to kind of go over some of the latest pop culture stuff. I don't really know if I care as much. Like, do you guys care that there's 3 new Star Wars films announced?
I still haven't seen Endgame.
Oh, okay.
Ooh, okay.
That's all right. Have you been able to avoid spoilers? Have you been able to avoid spoilers so far?
I think Tony Stark dies.
Okay, that'd be a good guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. I gotcha. Yeah, are you excited for the Spider-Man movie? What's coming out next?
I don't know which one we're talking about.
There's a.
I also still haven't seen Into the Spider-Verse, so I'm a little behind.
Oh, that's all good. There's too many comic movies coming out right now. It's all clustered.
A whole bunch.
No, you definitely should see Spider-Verse, though. It's
okay.
Surprisingly, I expected to go into a Sony movie with what is he, like Puerto Rican or something? The Miles being black and Latino.
Yeah.
And then Gwen Stacy, I figured it's gonna be like SJW laden. And then I watched it, and it's like, wow, it's less than Endgame.
What was the title of that Spider-Man movie where like the one before this one? Where
Homecoming?
Yeah. Where it was against the Vulture. It was pretty good. I enjoyed it, but they took Mary Jane Watson from like a redheaded bombshell to this person of color social justice version. Like, what the hell is this? I was like, that's not Mary Jane. That's some bullshit. Anyway.
Hey, you know what? Luckily, I'm here. I'm here. I'm an Angus of color, so I can say what you can't. She's a frumpy black bitch.
Okay, exactly. Yeah.
I hated it.
Yeah. So, are you excited for the sequel to that called Spider-Man: Far From Home, where it looks like Mysterio is one of the guys? There's a multiverse now. There's just lots of stuff going on there.
I really like Mysterio. I mean, I was a huge Spider-Man fan growing up, and Mysterio was one of my favorite villains. I wish he was really more prevalent in the comics I was reading in the 80s, but typically he would have more, beat 'em up showdowns with like the Scorpion. There was a whole bunch of stuff with Vulture and Kraven, and he even fought Sabretooth. But Mysterio didn't see a lot of action, which was a shame because I really liked the whole illusion thing. I like the idea that it was the kind of the questioning of reality. So
that makes sense. Yeah, it looks like they're going somewhere with that, and I guess I won't say too much more about it because they even have Tom Holland at the beginning of the trailer say, "If you haven't seen Endgame, then don't watch this trailer," because it's got a whole bunch of spoilers from Endgame in it, I guess.
Fair enough, yeah.
Yep. So moving on from that, I think the Pikachu movie comes out this weekend.
Oh my daughter will probably have seen that before I see her in LA because she's really hyped for the Pikachu movie, and it looks pretty good. So,
okay. Where did you grow up with Pikachu? Or, I mean, you didn't grow up with Pikachu, but like, did you have family that grew up with Pikachu or Pokemon? All those shows, kid shows, Pokemon-ish.
Are you asking me?
Yeah.
Oh, my daughter. Yeah. All right. So I used to play Magic. Back in like I was top 8 in like the first 2 Pro Tours they ever had, kind of thing. So I used to play, at a reasonably high level. But then I gave all that crap up. But then
Nice.
I had my daughter, and she got into Pokemon. I'm like, well, maybe the Pokemon game is something we could bond over. And so we played a lot of Pokemon and watched a lot of Pokemon videos and stuff growing up. And I always thought it was dumb, but I was amazed. Like how much my daughter, like here's this little 5-year-old, and you plop her down in front of a TV, and she's a girl no less. So you don't expect her to quite have the same appeal, but she would come last with be like, and fire types can beat grass types, and grass types can beat water types. I'm like, somebody's made that shit up, but all right, you're spouting it off. All right,
yeah, they do it in a very good way where it's like it doesn't mean much, but it's very retainable. Because like even now as an adult, like I grew up on that stuff, but I stopped after a certain point. And but I still remember quite a bit of the forms and the amounts that what they evolve into, and there's also other crap. It's like I should have that information gone out of my head so I can focus more on the like classes I'm taking. But that stuff's still in my head.
I know.
They do good at drilling it in. Visually looks all right. You feel for the for the Pokemon. Oh no. Right. So I don't know with this live action one, like I'm not excited for it, but I just eventually I might happen to see it. I mean it's more because I'm kind of tired of Ryan Reynolds.
Okay.
Personally, like I've seen him so much in so many movies, and I'm just like I'm just kind of tired of him. Same with Will Smith. I just kind of feel like I've had enough personally.
Sure.
A little too much of them. What about you, Angus? You excited for Pokemon?
Oh God, no. Yeah, like as much as I like Deadpool as like movies are funny, but it's like these are pointless. There's nothing. It's kind of weird because it's like you watch and it's like this is a love story, and then the second one's like this is a family movie, and it's like you know what, in like kind of fucked up way they are. But even with that, there's nothing to really take away from those movies. You forget them after a day. And that's how I feel about Ryan Reynolds. I've never liked him. It took a lot of convincing for me to even watch Deadpool after it was released. With Pikachu, I just feel it's like PG-13 Deadpool in a like fuzzy I don't know, creature thing. And Pokemon was just way too cutesy for me. Like I've told people when I was growing up, like even though I was pretty sheltered, my dad let me watch a lot of violent stuff, so I rooted for the Velociraptors, and that really affected how I watched Land Before Time and stuff like that, where I was very disappointed with the lack of carnage. And same with Pokemon versus Digimon. Like, Pokemon's just got such a cutesy look to it, besides like Mewtwo or something, or Gyarados. Even those are corny looking for what they could be. With Digimon, it was like, I don't know anything about Digimon. I don't remember anything, but like they just had a much better artistic look to me. But yeah, I just don't feel Pokemon has substance really after like the first movie. So I tried to play it when Pokemon Go is a big thing, and I got like a 3DS for me and the wife, and we're playing X and Y. And I'm like, okay, I'm like collecting these damn Pokemon. I keep having to fight these stupid Pidgeys or whatever, and I'm just like,
Oh yeah, that's the struggle. That's the struggle.
Yeah, I'd rather just for a game, I'd rather play Magic like I used to, or play a video game like a console. I don't know. It never sat with me, and I wasn't allowed to when it was like the bee's knees.
Yeah, I didn't grow up with it. Yeah, I'd say it's definitely more. You have to be at the right age for it to have any appeal to it. But that makes sense. But anyway, moving on to the comic topic. So Pocket Jack Comics. He's how many comic books have you made? Because you actually make comics.
Tomorrow the Kickstarter goes live on my 4th.
Goes live on the 4th one, and so I'm going to screen share that in just a second.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was wondering about your poster behind you because he told me your name, so I was looking at some of your videos really quick, and then I was wondering if you had your own stuff given that poster.
Yeah, I do a lot of. All right, so I started writing screenplays, and I have since executively produced a movie that we can talk about. It's on Amazon Prime if anyone wants to watch that one, and in about 6 weeks, we're probably going to pull the trigger on a second one. So that was fun. And as a screenwriter, though, I have kind of these big ideas, and that exceeds the budget that we have to operate on. And so I take the big ideas and I translate them into comic books. And so the first one I did is White Lily, which is now going into issue 3, which is about the deadliest female fighter pilot who ever lived. She flew for the Soviet Union during the Second World War. And the other one I did was Guinevere and the Divinity Factory.
Yeah, but I'll show that in a minute. But we'll show them your current one that's going to go tomorrow. First, right here. Yeah, this looks pretty good. Angus, have you looked into this at all yet? Have you looked into his stuff?
No. Like I said, I saw the poster behind him, so I figured he might be someone with a project or something. So I was interested to like investigate more, but no, I didn't know. And so, how much have you made from the other 2 issues?
Well, I sell a lot at conventions, which I don't quite keep track of. But in terms of Kickstarter exposure, all right. So my very first campaign failed, and then I did another. I relaunched the Kickstarter for issue 1 a few months later after having finished the book, and that one brought in, I want to say, like just over 4,000. And then White Lily issue 2 was a year ago, and that one brought in 4,500. And then Guinevere brought in, so over 3 campaigns it brought in close to 9, because there was a Kickstarter, then a Make 100 on Kickstarter, and an Indiegogo. So altogether, that one brought in around 9. So we're moving in the right direction.
That's awesome, man.
Thanks.
That's good. Yeah, actually, in a little bit, I'll ask you more about your film history, because that's really more my particular area.
I'm here for you.
What was that?
I'm here to talk about whatever you want.
Okay, perfect. All right, yeah. So I being like more of a new guy into comics, I've literally only read like 5 comic books.
Okay.
Like total. I started with Star Wars, like Darth Maul, Son of Dathomir, and I forgot what the second one I read was already.
X-23.
X-23, right? Yeah, I read that one to see how if it like really is SJW-ish, or if that's just how everyone thinks from reading comics their whole lives. No, pretty much it is kind of SJW-ish. There's a few things I could take from it that I liked, but ultimately I forgot about it already. Pretty much, like I forgot I even read that book. I read a Starfire book on accident because somebody recommended the new Teen Titans, but I accidentally got a Starfire book solo, and that one was really bad. But there's some things in it that were okay. You know, some little stories that are all right. And I'm reading The Watchmen, and I read Lone Star, which was also okay. I think could have been a little better, but I liked it for what it was. It's all right.
Okay. I mean, I was a bit curious about Lone Star. Just from what I saw, it seemed a little pandery, but you know.
Yeah. The only thing for me is it feels kind of rushed. Like,
okay.
Like I feel like he wanted to have more in it, and then just kind of skips around-ish, and then like wants to get into the next one that he's already launching now.
Right.
And it's just like I don't know.
I mean, you know, and this goes back to kind of my history as just a creative person and hanging out in creative circles, specifically writers groups. You know, like pre-2016 election, you know, I lived in Venice Beach, and there was a writers group that met, you know, once a week, you know, 2 blocks down. So I would go there every week, and that's where the White Lily story got hashed out, was in that writers group. I would bring scenes, and people would give me feedback on it. And the stories that I was seeing people come forward with were, for the most part, kind of apolitical. It might be like, oh, a gay man's trying to find acceptance in the 1970s or something. But then after the Trump election, like, everything became like, we must cater to this one certain group, and I hate that. So this is me. I don't want pandery art. I want art that kind of unifies instead of divides. That's my goal, I suppose.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think I say you had quite a bit that you had to say with some of the newer comics.
Well, I had a follower of us. I'm not sure if it was just with that author or with Comicsgate, or I don't know anything, but she sent me this copy of Lone Star, and I was like, oh, you know, 'cause I was like, yeah, I'll take it. I want to check it out, and I read it, and I was like completely disappointed. Rookie kind of stifled a little bit of my criticism, just because I guess, you know, he had his whole fallout with the Meg contract or something, so he needed like cash for his family. It's like, cool, but I don't know. You know, like, I get that writing, doing is different than like critiquing it. Both are valuable, but, you know, it's just like with Star Wars. Like, so many times where we've like sat down in 5 minutes, we come up with like a more concise plot than what was created or whatever.
Yeah.
And I read Lone Star. I'm just like, yeah, I get he like rushed, but there's a simple enough story here, and it's like I would have just starting to try to make a comic idea of my own that I'm going to take my sweet time to make it good for people. I see this, I'm just like, this guy's been a professional. He's been in the industry. I don't get why he pooped this out. I was not impressed. I definitely won't fund the second one. I was thinking about it till I read Lone Star, and I'm like, ugh. But yeah, definitely, there's definitely some pandering at the end with some of the art with like this one character. It's just like, it's so volatile. It's like, this is not, it doesn't make sense if like this girl's like falling head over heels for Lone Star, and then she's got this like wacko friend that's gonna like yank her away because she's with a guy who wears an American flag. You know, it's like, this is off-putting.
Yep, I got you. Well, so Guinevere and the Divine Factory #1 was the images that when a while back, I had a comic stream with Nerd Wonder, Pope Fire, Riot Kitty, and Gateway to Comics. And Gateway pointed me into your direction. Well, I think you're in the chat. You might have popped in the chat. I don't remember.
I did. Yes, I popped in the chat. Yeah.
Yeah. So I clicked on your channel and took a look, and yeah, I just like instantly, I'm like, wow, that's pretty good art. I mean, that looks really good.
My production, I want 3 hallmarks. I want top level art. I want it fulfilled quickly. So Guinevere and the Divinity Factory, I fulfilled 6 weeks after the campaign closed. And I want frequent projects. So my goal is to do 1 a quarter. So Guinevere #1 was the first quarter. White Lily #3 rather is going to be the second quarter. And then the third quarter is going to be White Lily #4. And then Guinevere and the Divinity Factory #2 will be in the fourth quarter. So that's my unique selling proposition, if you will. You can look out on the marketplace. There will be people who maybe beat me in one aspect, like, you know, Ethan Van Sciver's been doing it for a long time, so the level of artwork at Cyberfrog is really good, but no one person's going to beat me at all 3.
Oh wow!
Yeah, is this your artwork, or do you have like a team?
No, I cannot draw, but I paid for it. So,
so you're more the story guy, and then somebody else brings it to life. Well, I can't wait to read. I think I might actually get this one for sure, because this looks like really good. I don't know.
Thanks.
It's good.
I mean, sorry. I know what I was going to ask. When you have like new issues, is there a way to go back and get those? If like you, like me or Rookie, were new to you, is there a way we can get those first issues, or is it you got to hunt it on eBay? Or
yeah, I mean, it's on eBay. I also through Kickstarter, and I know a lot of Comicsgate people are like, I hate Kickstarter. I want Indiegogo. If there's enough demand, I'll put it up on Indiegogo. But Kickstarter allows me, you know, certain leeways, particularly with Backer Kit, that if you back something like, for instance, the campaign tomorrow, when it goes time to check out through BackerKit, you can get whatever merch or back issues you want. So like the whole gamut of Kickstarter exclusive covers and all that stuff will be available to you through BackerKit.
So you're saying Indiegogo doesn't have this ability yet?
Well, that would be a separate BackerKit campaign. I mean, BackerKit, you can do any other one, but then all right. So on Guinevere and the Divinity Factory, my Kickstarter was 5,500, I believe, like for the first one, and the Indiegogo was like 1,400 or 1,500, and I just didn't see it hovered at 0 for like the first week. I'm like, I feel like Kickstarter just gives me a lot more traffic and a lot more effort. So for me to justify like the BackerKit fees and the other things to just do this campaign just so people can say they didn't support it through Kickstarter, I feel like, look, just contact me privately. I'll send you a PayPal invoice if you just have ideological objections to that platform.
Well, I'm curious. So how do you get the word out about your comic issues? How do you get the word out for your Kickstarter campaigns?
Well, not as well as other people, but that's why I'm here. So what I've done previously, and like technology shifts a lot, and I'm just trying to find the curve. So what I was doing previously was I was doing a lot of comic shows and collecting a lot of email addresses, but now it seems like it's all on YouTube. So I've since started a YouTube channel, YouTube/PocketJack Comics, and I'm slowly building up my following. So with a combination of an email newsletter that I do a lot of shows, I'm doing Phoenix Fan Fusion later this month, and building a YouTube channel, I'm trying to cover the conventional bases of what I see people succeed with.
Okay, yeah, that's a good idea. YouTube's definitely a good way to go. Gives you a chance to put out content out there, and for the audience and people that are interested in your stuff to, ask you questions or talk to you about it. So it's a good way to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, and okay, Angus, did you have anything you wanted to ask as well, seeing this stuff?
I'm definitely interested. I'm going to look into what like the pitch is. If we don't get to it, I'll look into it and probably back it. I like the art. Same thing with Comicsgate. I love. I guess I want to ask him how he feels about Comicsgate in general, but yeah, I definitely like the idea of Comicsgate as an idea, whatever. But a lot of the art, I'm pretty picky. Like I love really realistic art, or something just wows me. So like,
Right.
if it wasn't for watching EVS, I wouldn't have backed Doug TeNaples' Bigfoot Bill. But then getting it, not my art saw, I looked at it, I'm like, wow, he like really put some work into making it pop. So I appreciate that aspect. But yeah, really love realistic looking art. So I'm already kind of sold on what I'm seeing, and there's consistency. It's not just a cover and then you open it's like, it's some ugly.
What you're looking at right there, those are all interiors.
Yeah, no, that looks good.
Yeah, this is really good.
Thank you.
I'm seeing this image for the first time. Yeah, I don't get what they're doing, but
all right. So I can explain. So that's my friend Paul right there.
Okay.
So we wrote him into the comic book, and Paul is always very emphatic, like women are nothing but trouble. But then he meets like a woman that just strikes his fancy, and he does that. He's just like completely entranced with him. Like, I got her number, and then we're going out, and so in this comic book, and the redhead is also a real person. She was a cosplayer who worked my very first Comic-Con. She worked my booth at the very first comic show I ever did. Her name is Juliet Kita. She was born in Austin, but has since moved out to LA. And we made a music video, by the way, which you can find on my channel, where I put her in that blue dress. We did a music video. But so she is, we used her likeness for the character of Guinevere, who is an apprentice wizard. And the story of Guinevere and the Divinity Factory, it combines elements of Doctor Strange with the Great Gatsby. So she's an apprentice wizard, but instead of some stuffy British boarding school, she's wading into essentially the Gatsby mansion, where there's this big flapper party going on. It's set modern day, but wizards live a long time, so he likes to throw flapper parties to kind of, embrace the nostalgia. And so she's wading in through this this group, and this character is immediately gravitating towards her and is like, "Hey baby, what's up?" And she's like, "I'm looking for somebody." And he's like, "Well, I can tell you where." And so, I don't know if you're a big fan of The Great Gatsby, but Nick Carraway, who's our main character, he has to make this journey through Gatsby's mansion looking for Gatsby, and he keeps asking where is Gatsby, and no one can ever tell him. And so I recreated that journey, except this time it's from a woman, and this guy's trying to hit on her. And so finally she casts a spell and is like, "Where is he?" And then he admits there in panel 2, like he has no idea, he's never met him. And so,
okay, well, that's pretty cool. Yeah, sounds like I didn't actually read the bio description of what the story is. Yeah, that sounds very interesting.
okay.
And no, I'm not seeing Great Gatsby, not yet. I may be a movie guy, but I have so many films that I have yet to see yet. So I'm working on it. I just got past Karate Kid and stuff. So
the Will Smith Karate Kid or the Ralph Macchio Karate Kid?
The Ralph Macchio.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm getting there. I'm getting to some of these. Watched Kill Bill and Jaws and stuff recently too. Alien and Aliens. Getting through. So
Rookie,
Gatsby's on the list somewhere down there.
Rookie, I think I have Gatsby, the DiCaprio one on my Vudu, so you can check it out.
It's really good.
All right, well, yeah, if I can access it there, then I'll watch it sooner, definitely. Yeah, just 1 second. 1 second. All right, so what was I going to show? All right, so do you have any other active or no? I know you already told us that. Angus, do you have any questions? So I think for a sec.
I thought you were going to ask him about his film background. He executive produced something.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, tell us with your film background. Yeah.
Oh, again, I approached it from a writer point of view, but in trying to get that off the ground, particularly living in LA, you kind of learn the movie business. And then I came back here to Dallas, and I became trustee of my family's trust. And essentially, in talking with various family members, they were like, "We want the money to grow because we want there to be more when certain people die to be distributed amongst the next generation." And I'm like, "All right, well, if you want the money to grow, we're going to have to invest it in some form of enterprise." I understand movies, so we're going to start making movies. And everybody thought that was crazy, radical, and risky, but so far it's worked out okay. So I found a local director and production company here in Dallas called Cinestate, and they had a movie called Standoff at Spare Creek, and they were looking for investors on it, and they'd already essentially pre-sold the movie, which is essentially, you can imagine if you have a writer like Stephen King, and he's like, "Hey, I've got a novel," book companies will line up and offer a certain amount of money, basically as a guarantee. Cinestate was that successful in their prior movies, and they had a distributor lined up and guaranteeing a revenue, and so it was a fairly safe investment for us. And you can watch Standoff at Spare Creek on Amazon Prime.
Oh, nice. Yeah, sounds pretty cool. Yeah, I personally, I started with writing, but then at some point I was thinking I can't really get anywhere specifically by writing, so I picked up a camera and started to film things as I can, skits especially, just by myself. And I'm like, well, how can I interact? So I do the types where I'm interacting with nothing, but then I have the other camera angle where I'm a different character interacting with that character. Mm. And stuff. So that's kind of where I'm at. I like where you went though with yours, finding a director and a production thing. Do they advertise for that type of thing? Just like
no,
it doesn't seem like a yeah. That'd be cool though if there was some more like that. I'm gonna address the chat real quick. So the Senate popped in a little bit ago. He's been coming in. He's like, "We talking comics? Hell yeah, we are with Pocket Jack Comics on here. We're not talking sports with that." That's all good. And then the Red Gaze, he said Miller's art is definitely stronger than his writing. Yeah, great art. Could use some work on story.
Hey, real quick before I forget, I was going to ask. What was it? You're in Dallas, so are you an awful Cowboys fan?
I'm not really much of a sports person.
Well, at least you're not a Cowboys fan. So
right. I mean, like if the Cowboys are on, you get to sit and, it's the great thing about, the thing about the human experience is you rarely get to find moments to really bond over. And so I will certainly embrace the Cowboys in order to kind of feel a sense of camaraderie with the people I'm sitting with.
Yeah, no, I get that. I definitely, I tell people because I'm a huge Philly fan, but some of my favorite players are history. I'm like, yeah, if I built a team, I'd pick this cowboy. He's got the background to prove it. I'm an objective fan, so yeah, I definitely appreciate that aspect of sports in general, along with comics, and that's what I try to bridge the gap of both those fandoms. Yeah, because I've had interactions both with like a sports jersey or like a Star Wars shirt or Thanos, where it's like, oh, dude, blah blah blah, and you're like, you're a total stranger, and you've broken that wall.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. And so Leaf Thracia 776 has a question. She says, "So how do I send in a story so it can be made into a comic?"
Well, let's see. That's kind of a tough one. I guess my question would, all right, first you got to pick out which company you want to write for. Marvel and DC are not soliciting outside submissions, so you're gonna have to pick somebody else. Someone like Image, or really need to kind of go smaller.
Yeah, I think she's talking about more independence.
Right. Yeah. And so just find somebody that you like and you want to work with, and you would approach that person directly and say, hey, I've got a story. But ultimately, like for instance, if you were to approach me, the question would be, okay, what is it you're hoping to get? Because, like, for instance, on Guinevere and the Divinity Factory, or for that matter, White Lily, if you look at the production value on those comics, like all those interiors and stuff, like I'm not doing the stuff other people doing. Like I don't have a fancy cover and the interiors look like poop. The art team is top notch, and that's on every single page. And the music video and all that, I'm in the hole when it compares like how much money came in versus how much money got spent out. So if I was to say have a writer, and I'm working on their project and they're working on a percentage of profits, well, they're word on. So I don't know exactly what it is you're endeavoring to do. Now, what I'm endeavoring to do is I'm endeavoring to build up the IPs around these ideas such that a few years down the road, Hollywood's like, hey, female fighter pilots, that's a good idea. And then, and then we can talk movies. But,
I'm working the game ahead of time. Nice.
Yeah, I'm working the game. So you as a writer of comic books have to decide, well, what is your end goal here? Because there's not a ton of money in it. And writers are kind of at the bottom of the rung when it comes to why people pick up a comic book. Typically, they pick it up for the art. Now, they will return for a good story, which I think we were exploring there a bit with Lone Star. Like, you picked it up for the art, and then you're like, story's not very good. So, but that's the thing about writers, a good story will hook people to come back for issue 2 and 3 and 4. But the artwork is what sells issue 1. It's kind of tough.
Yeah,
kind of a good way to look at it. Nice.
To add to that, I don't know how much comics you read. I just found your channel from Rookie, so I'll be investigating. But I don't have much more experience than Rookie does with comics. I have a little bit, so I had a few suggestions for him. And one of them I tell everyone because Frank Miller suggested it on the Dark Knight Returns bonus features. Contract with God. Have you read that book?
I've not heard of it.
Yeah, it's one of the first like modern, if you will, at least graphic novels. It's very much just about like real human stories in like Jewish New York.
Interesting.
Given the author, it's Will Eisner. So yeah, it was a very odd book to come out. People don't know where to put it in bookstores, so a lot of people just like they put it in the back. So like, I don't know where to put it, and then somehow it became iconic. And Frank Miller pushes that, so I checked it out, and I've read 2 out of the 3 overarching books in it. But I definitely suggest it, not for the art, but for the story.
Right. Fair enough.
That's good. Leaf responded in the chat. She says, "My book is fantasy based, and I would like a manga version of it, and I want it to reach as many people to inspire them."
Okay. Well, I mean, my understanding is probably on the same level as everybody else's these days. The traditional comic book market of major companies pumping out product which gets distributed through Diamond and sold in your local comic book store is in decline. Whether that's going to turn around or not, I honestly can't say. The market that seems to be exploding and growing year after year are basically people like me who are putting out their indie projects through crowdfunding and trying to gain attention through social media. And Leaf is just as capable of doing that as anybody else. I guess the question is, how much time do you have to sink into getting a fan base?
Yeah, that makes sense. Seems like having an audience, building your own audience so that people like you, and then you present the product will be how to sell it, and then word of mouth from there, and continuing to be a presence and whatnot, and sharing ideas that people give you feedback on, whether they like it, and if they don't, then maybe tweak stuff. And that's what it seems just from looking at the Comicsgate stuff, how that success is working.
Yeah, and it's about building a social media following, and that's not what writing is about. And I've looked, and I've certainly seen some campaigns that just go and kick ass in terms of how much money they brought in on what doesn't seem, like not a particularly well-developed story. I mean, maybe the story is, written in volumes that are in somebody's closet, but I'm talking about the story they present to this. It's really just kind of an elevator pitch, but boom, they're off and running with a bunch of money. And others that have really involved stories that don't collect a lot. So it's really comes down to your social media following. And then again, it's the test of the writing will be, once you gain that success, do they come back for issue 2? Because that is the other thing you see, is you see people get a big social media following and they're able to, do a really big issue 1. But then, for instance, on like black and then white, like issue 2 was half of issue 1. And to me, that's like a failure of writing. That's where people get the book, they read the book, and they're like, well, this kind of sucks. So
yeah, they're like, I don't really want any more of this.
Right.
So no, and then diminish returns.
Right.
Yeah, it should technically do as good, if not better, on the second run.
It absolutely should, successful. Yeah. But that's where, unfortunately, you don't really test the writing until you're that far along in the process. You've already got your social media following. You've already had your successful campaign. Your successful campaign has been fulfilled. Now you're going up for the second campaign, and now that's the test of your writing. So it's pretty far along before writing becomes relevant, and that's sad but true.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. Well, like with me, like I'm more of a film guy, and I've had ideas for years, basically. A lot of ideas I've written down, and there's only like 1 or 2 ideas that I've had that I think could be something that people would want to like look into in film. But like talking with Angus and some other people, they're like, well, maybe because the film idea, well, that'll take a really long time also to like be able to make that it's like cinematically what you would want. Like, just, maybe you pitch it as a comic first or something, get the idea out there. Don't expect to make a bunch on it. Just put it out there. See if people like the idea, see if they like you and whatnot. And that's why I'm kind of waiting. I might do that because I have the story written, like at least the first part of it anyway. It's like 30 pages. So that's, that's decent length for a story, I suppose. Not too long, not too short. And I'm kind of waiting until I have a bigger following before I share that idea.
Sure.
Like fully. I've shown some images that I've drawn when I was in college for a little bit. Like I was like, oh, here's some storyboard type drawings, But I do a little more detail to it. I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to share the whole thing yet until I've got a bigger base, more confident with it, until I think people actually like it. Yeah, like just doing it too early now, I would feel like it would just flop and wither into nothing. Like, yeah, if I were to try it now. So yeah, I see what you mean. I think some people start too soon. They're too eager to start. And then they end up just not making as much. And then they get mad at like Ethan Van Sciver or somebody for not helping them.
Well, I mean, he did hold himself out there in December as saying, I'm here to promote, indie comic books. And he was kind of bouncing around all over the place. He was like, I'm out of Comicsgate. Then later, I'm in Comicsgate. Then I want to hold myself out to indie comic creators. If you've got an indie comic project, send it my way. I'll look at, get my attention, keep badgering me. And if it's good, I'll promote it. Then more recently, if you have you need a YouTube following of 25,000 before you even talk to me. Okay, well, I mean,
well, like, with him, he's got that type of mindset, I think, where he thinks of ideas like in the moment all the time, and then so when he thinks it totally makes sense, and then the new info gets presented, and it changes here and there. Yeah. But I mean, as far as like the way he promoted, I mean, I wouldn't expect him to promote everybody that comes to him, because that's more of the job than it would be for him to write his comic and stuff. So I like the idea that he presents, though, with everyone else building somewhat of a following themselves, and then having a little bit of something themselves, so that they don't have to rely on him, so that you can be self-sufficient without getting on his show. But if you get on the show, that's a good bonus, I guess.
Well, okay, but I mean, conceivably, how many people get as far as coming up with a comic book with artwork?
Well, yeah, I don't know, but
I don't know. I mean, that universe seems to be, if we look at, I mean, we can go to Indiegogo and Kickstarter, or for that matter, just narrow it down to Comicsgate projects and look at IndieCron. But it seems like maybe there's only a handful. I want to say 1 or 2 a month. And I feel like if he wanted to promote them, he could, but he doesn't. And that's his right to not want to. But that means that I can't tell Leaf here, oh, well, here's what you got to do. You got to get Ethan Van Sciver's attention. So.
Right. Well, I guess just like I wouldn't want people to expect that he would do it, because I don't know, with me, like I would like to have that much faith in some people, like to do it, like, but I'd go, oh yes, I'm going to be on his show, and then it doesn't happen, and then okay, so it's crushed now. Like
exactly. Yeah.
From that point anyway. I see what you mean. Is there anything that you wanted to talk about or to share with the new audience?
I would like to talk about White Lily issue 3, which launches tomorrow on Kickstarter.
All right. I'll bring that back open so you can run that again. All right.
Because so far we just talked about Guinevere.
All right. Yeah. Sorry. We got off track there a little bit. Yeah. So let's get back to this. So tell us some more, and in case people, come back in, tell us more about White Lily.
All right. So this is the story of the deadliest female fighter pilot who ever lived. She flew for the Soviet Union during the Second World War. Yes, she was a real woman. She was known as the White Lily of Stalingrad, and she primarily fought at the battles of Stalingrad and Kursk. She was a Jew descended from Poland, and her father was executed during the Purge. And so I looked at her life, and I thought, to me, and I was going through kind of a hard time in my life, and I guess I was kind of halfway battling depression, and I was asking that question that we all ask of, what does this mean? What is life about? Why do I need to get out of bed in the morning outside of just paying my bills? And then I found her story on accident, and I was trying to figure out, okay, why is this woman fighting for the government that killed her father, as an ethnicity that was hated by Stalin? Stalin hated the Jews. And, what kept her going in the face of fighting the most fearsome army and air force that had ever been seen, in the face of just like devastating odds and low morale? I'm like, that's the story. And so that was the conflict for me. Is it's about a quest for purpose and what keeps people going when the world is just collapsing around you. And that's what White Lily is about.
Yeah, I like that premise for the story. And I like some of the imagery here. Is this, so what year does this take place in again?
42, 43.
Okay. Nice. Yeah, Angus, do you have any questions about the book as well?
No, sorry, I stepped away. Making ramen, and I was
dealing with the kids.
Not dealing with the kids; they're asleep. But just doing a little house stuff.
Ramen's good.
Helping the wife out. So
yeah.
But no, I was curious if y'all haven't discussed what was on my mind. I was wondering, since I'm new to his channel and I know he's covered the Mark Waid case with Richard C. Meyer, I was wondering his overall views of like how Comicsgate's going, certain people he follows, or or criticism as well. Like doesn't have to feel it's a one-sided venture.
Yeah, he's asking you that, I guess.
Yeah. Well, let's see.
That's a lot.
I wanted to talk about White Lily issue 3, but all right.
So, it's all right. No, hold on. So we can save that for a bit. So
okay.
With White, it says keeping it on White Lily.
Yeah. I mean, I don't mind talking about that, but I want to talk about my book at some point.
That's okay. No, we can talk about the book. Yeah. See, I don't really have any questions prepared for this, okay. So I don't know what to ask exactly.
All right. Well, I mean, then don't worry about it. But there it is. It goes up tomorrow. This will be issue 3 of 5. All the artwork is already finished. In fact, I put off an order to the local printer I use to print up 75 copies for Phoenix Fan Fusion. So I have a convention exclusive book later in the month. So there's no risk of the book not being completed. And just like all my Kickstarters, it's going to be fulfilled very quickly because it's already finished before I even launch it. But
I think people like that, getting it out quickly after they purchase it.
Yeah, exactly.
Definitely.
But,
a link to that is in the description as well, and his YouTube channel.
Yeah. All right. So the Richard C. Meyer versus Mark Waid. Okay. I'm also in law school, and as soon as I'm done here, I'm going to go back to writing my essays. But the case at hand, and I do go through this in some videos on my channel. It's certainly interesting in terms of tortious interference. All right. There's one question which is not really the main question, and that question is the one everybody asks, which is, did Mark Waid tortiously interfere with Richard C. Meyer's contract? And the answer to that question is most likely yes. But the second question is, will Richard C. Meyer prevail at trial? That's a different question, and people don't quite get that. I've seen trial. It's different. And one, we have to and I go through all this in a video, but we have to go through, okay, what's the evidence that's going to be presented? And I go through the actual jury instructions. I pull up jury instructions. They're granted for California, but not for Texas, but they're pretty similar. It's like, essentially the jury has to decide, was Mark Waid a substantial factor in the failure of the contract? So that'll be one of the questions that the jury will have to wrestle with. The other question that the jury will have to wrestle with is, did a contract exist? That is not something that the judge determines. That's something that the jury is going to determine. And in this case, there's not a written contract. And so I'm thinking, okay, what is the jury going to see? We're going to see Richard C. Meyer. I'm sure he's going to be called to the stand, and he's going to give his side of things. And then we're going to see Mark Waid, and he's going to be called to the stand. He's going to give his side of things. And I got to say, in terms of jury likability, probably Richard C. Meyer is going to be way more likable than Mark Waid, because I can't believe Mark Waid, in the middle of deposition to an answer, and he's not the deponent. He's not the one in the witness chair. Just shouts out, yes. I'm like, God, what a dork. But, he's kind of weaselly, but at the same time, and Richard C. Meyer is constantly putting himself out there on YouTube. So he's used to speaking, and he's got this military background. So he's kind of likable, but at the same time, germane to the case is what essentially the SJWs dug up about Richard C. Meyer. And because that was what the Dunn brothers, I want to say, were discussing. And so what the defendant, what the defense is going to be arguing and asking questions about the Dunn brothers are like. And so then when the cum dumpster tweet came to your attention, what conversation did you have? And there's all this information about Richard C. Meyer and all the kind of the provocative statements he's made that's going to be trotted out in front of the jury, and they're just going to be beat over the head with that. And we've got Mark Waid, who's clearly going to be disagreeing with Richard C. Meyer, and then we got the two Dunn brothers who seem to be siding with Mark Waid. And so it's kind of 3-on-1, and the one guy who's witnessing for himself, there's all this inflammatory stuff that he wrote on the internet. That's going to be a tough case to prevail on. I'm not going to lie. Could he prevail on it? Sure. I think it's less than 50-50, though, in my humble opinion.
Okay. I think that's a good way to look at it. I never saw it that way.
So is some of your coverage of this on your channel, is any of this kind of transcribed for assignments for school?
No. but I use my legal expertise when I'm analyzing it. And look, I've been to trial a couple of times. So it's interesting what you think a jury is going to see versus what they actually see. Because in your mind you think, oh, they're totally going to see this, and then maybe they don't. So, and after you've done it a couple of times, you think Well, and I'm already thinking, well, I'm sure there's probably going to be some women on that jury. And when, Mark Wade's sitting there going, and he says that women need to be put back in the kitchen. And then there are tweets where he's calling people cum dumpsters and stuff. Like, the women are not going to like that. They're just not.
Yeah, and there's no context, and this is their first time hearing this. They're
Right.
not into the Twitter or comics, drama, YouTube. So this is complete regular people put into this. They hear these things, and they can, okay, I can see what you mean. How, it looks like it could be against him, even if he's technically in the right.
Right. Exactly. And meanwhile, there is, so now the jury, which I'm going to say is probably going to end up being prejudiced against Richard, but at the same time, they are, they're honor bound to interpret the facts as best they can. But one of the facts they got to interpret is, did a contract exist? And there wasn't a signed one. Now, I legally can say that doesn't necessarily, that's not the end of the story. There can still be an agreement which is being interfered with, but that's plenty of wiggle room for a jury to go, well, I just don't like that guy. So there was no contract, case done. Yeah, so I don't know. We'll see.
Wow. That'd be interesting if that's how that ended up going out.
Yeah.
A little bit
well, to counter, I don't know your background, besides you saying you're in Texas,
yes.
or from Texas.
Yes.
One thing I think it helps is being in Texas, him being a Marine. And so you offering that view, I definitely appreciate it. I think it is something we haven't, we're following it. We're in comics, we're in the Fandom, we're following it from Uncle Ethan or Richard himself. So we're not looking at it unbiasedly. But I do think being in Texas, being a Marine will aid him greatly. Where it's like, oh, yes, no context. This guy said come dumpster. And all you got to do is go, Iraq vet. And I think that'll diffuse a lot given the location where this trial will probably take place, Texas, right?
Right. But then, going through jury selection, like, okay, what is the makeup of that jury? How many men, how many women, how many minorities, how many veterans? It's going to be interesting. And, even amongst one pool, different ethnic makeups are going to change that equation. And could Richard C. Meyer prevail? Absolutely. Is it a 100% slam dunk? Not in my book. I don't see that, but we'll see.
Yeah, I just want to be clear. I wasn't like throwing your project under the bus. It was just like, I had to step away from my phone for a minute, so it's like I don't want to just like try to bullshit. And it's like, well, I already answered that, so I'm like, let me just throw this out there.
Sure. No problem.
That's all good.
Again, it's like a sports team. It's like saying, well, who's going to win in the Super Bowl? And we can sit here and talk about offense or defense or who's a better quarterback, but at the end of the day, there's going to be a game and there's going to be a winner, and who wins doesn't really matter about anything we say. So nothing I say really means anything, but it's just all for, speculation. But juries got to find, as I say, juries sit there in that box and they look for a hero and a villain. And we would like to think that Richard C. Meyer is going to come off as the hero. But you got three people who are going to say, well, I don't know about that. He's done some bad things. And the evidence of the bad things is going to be, bantied about quite a bit. So we'll see.
All right. That's a good. All right. Here, we'll see here. So we have some new people in the chat. Riot Kitty just joined us as well. She's actually an amateur artist herself. She's got some good stuff that she's got on her page that's going. And
Kitty, what I want you to do is I want you to contact Leaf, because Leaf has a story and you're an artist, so you two need to get together.
I was about to say they actually do talk to each other. I think sometimes they should converse at some time if they haven't. They've been on some streams with me together, so they need to talk about that idea. That'd be great. But yeah, so I think just because we'll be closing out here in a minute or so, if you want to plug White Lily again, as well as your YouTube channel, I think your YouTube channel would be a good one too, because there's more YouTube community. His link to his Kickstarter and his YouTube channel are in the description. Pocket Jack Comics, and you can just go ahead and shill some of yourself. Shill some of this, yeah.
Well, I try not to be divisive and inflammatory. I really try, and I try and have a sense of integrity about stuff. I'm not going to get there and lie about things, because just a personal quirk of mine is I don't like being deceitful or dishonest or just not being informative. Like, I've always been kind of an informative, straightforward person. And one of the things I've noticed about YouTube personalities is they will do something and that's what gets them a following. And then from that day forward, they have to be locked into that personality. And so I want to be locked into just being this honest, straightforward, not divisive person. And that's what my YouTube channel is about. And I will, you know, I'll give it to you straight. I like what Richard C. Meyer does. I find his reviews very entertaining. But that doesn't mean I think he's going to win a trial, kind of thing. So, you know, like, whereas most people don't have both those opinions. Most people will either hate Richard and therefore he's going to lose, or love Richard and think therefore he's going to win. So, you know, I try and offer up a bit of diversity, if you will.
Yeah, and I'm going to start watching more of your videos coming soon. There's so many YouTubers that I've come in contact with now since making a YouTube channel. And like, I know like over 100 YouTubers alone that post content. And the comic ones are ones that I'm starting to slowly get more into in a way. So like I'll click on some videos here and there. But yeah, this does sound interesting. I love your experience background in both comics and film. And that's I think that specific quality isn't as common with the film and writing aspect with comics. And I like your format of having it with quarterly releases. That's a good way to keep your name on people's tongue.
It is. And, you know, like, for instance, I did John Malin's show yesterday, and, you know, he invited me back in a couple of weeks, which I thought was cool. Cause typically, you know, you just get on to talk about, I've got this project, and he's like, all right, thanks, bye. But then he's like, no, come on in a couple of weeks. Let us know how it's going. I'm like, oh, thanks. So, but, you know, if you look at somebody like that, okay. And now I'm going to do a show, we'll say twice, to promote White Lily 3. And then 3 months from now, you know, will be enough time where it'll be fresh again to come back and go, and hey, now here's White Lily 4. And, you know, you build kind of a brand identity. Like once every 90 days seemed about the right mix.
Yeah, I like that. And being guests on other people's channels, I did not know you were on John Malin's. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Having your name out there, having your YouTube channel get thrown out there more, people will definitely catch on. And I think your sales will definitely keep on going, as well as your audience increase with everyone that you go to. Drawing for the fun of it entered the chat. He's another YouTuber. He's a small YouTuber and he freelance artist. I think he's done. He did a review of my channel and also drew a picture of me, like an actual picture.
Oh, he drew
really good
I didn't
stuff.
know he drew a picture of you.
Yeah, he does that for a couple channels he's looked at, and he's whenever he does his videos, he does like a time lapse of his drawing that he did, and he talks over about a subject. So I like he's using a good form of comics with pop culture, talking about a topic and then drawing about the topic. That's pretty cool. But anyway, so with you, Pocket Jack Comics, we're closing out here in just a minute for White Lily that launches tomorrow on Kickstarter, and a link to that is in the description. And if you just want to do a brief pitch of the story, like a brief pitch of the story to everybody else, just as we close out here.
All right. So it is historical fiction about the deadliest female fighter pilot who ever lived. She was a real person. She flew for the Soviet Union during the Second World War. This is absolutely not an endorsement of communism. People do worry about it. They're like, no, it's not that. This is not Lone Star with like a big hammer and sickle on the uniform. That's not what we're doing here. But I feel in order to kind of explore some of the horrors of communism, it helps to actually set a story under it. And she is kind of essentially this forgotten person in terms of she's a minority that doesn't really fit in. She's not Russian. She's Jewish. She is not liked by either side. Like the Nazis certainly don't like her, but nor do the Russians. And yet she is out there aiming to achieve, as a woman in the most male-dominated world you could imagine, which is, fighter combat. And it's talking about, the loves that she has. She falls in love with a person that she's serving with. And so now you've got the issues of falling in love with somebody you're fighting alongside of. And there's this love triangle that develops. And I think it's certainly a lot of kind of the disappointments and heartbreaks that I suffered in my life just went right into the story, which kind of goes along with the Eastern Front experience during the Second World War. If you're looking for a really upbeat, feel-good story, this is not it.
No.
Okay. I like that. I need some especially after Infinity War and the end game kind of ends happy but bittersweet.
Yeah.
I need more of the Infinity War feel. I need the bad guy or just like down and depressing shit.
Yeah,
So that sounds good. That's a great
there
pitch
you
to
go.
someone
You
like me.
found it.
They kind of want to feel the weight of a situation.
And by the way, there's something that the Kickstarter allows. Now, again, that's another reason I kind of like it. Is I can do rewards over a certain time. So for the first 72 hours, I have early bird rewards on all my reward levels. So you'll get either a significant discount or more goodies thrown in at every reward level. So that's Thursday through Sunday.
Well, that's cool. More reason to back this. Launches tomorrow. Again, link in the description. Yeah, and he has some great work. If you guys also want to check out is Guinevere
and the Divinity Factory,
and the Divinity Factor. Tongue twist.
Yeah, Factory.
Yeah, but that one also looks good. I'm actually gonna get this one myself, and I think once I read this, just seeing the writing work, I'll see if I'm gonna get the other one as well.
Sure.
Especially, it feels like the tone is way different in each of them.
Yeah,
Right?
Well, not everybody wants a depressing war comic about a woman sacrificing for a nation that hates her. So I tried to lighten it up a little bit in the Divinity Factory. But
yeah, I do like the idea of it. I do like the idea of weight in a story because there's so much light comedy in everything now. That like even in movies, shows, books, whatever, it's just always, hey, there's always a joke. It's okay. Serious things are happening, but what gives?
Well, I sent you the link for did you have the actual digital comic? Because I sent that to you. I don't, or if not, I can.
I think it's still in my Twitter. Actually, that's the link to the digital comic. Oh, sweet.
Yeah,
I didn't know that yet.
See, is there a way I can share? Because I really like some of the artwork here where.
And I'll share it with yours.
Okay.
Here, so I'll present you, and whatever you put up, then it'll just be for you.
Yep. Okay. So is that all right? So all right, and then I got to click on something. What do I got to click on?
So on the left side of the Hangout screen, there should be a green arrow.
Green arrow. Okay. Screen share. Okay. I guess sure. Application window. That one. Share. Okay. So I guess you're seeing the stuff here.
Yep, and we got it presented to everybody. So screen is yours.
So yeah, here she is. She shot down in Stalingrad, and I had this moment here, which I thought was kind of nice, and because she's a woman, I think we as an audience will allow this. Like she was just being chased down by this German who was attempting to kill her, but he trips a mine and he dies. And then she's sitting here by the body of the smoking body, this guy who was just trying to kill her, and she's just freaking out because like seeing death that close, and just she's having this moment of I'm gonna die just like him, and that's a moment that I think we don't allow necessarily a male character, just a moment of complete and total like failure of will and doubt. But then at the bottom of the panel, I have her kind of reconnecting with her faith. She takes out her Star of David, and she's just like, enough. I know she's still got the tears streaming down her face, but she motivates herself to get up, to get the gun, and to keep moving. And then we have her. Now she's walking around Stalingrad at night, freezing, and she finds this frozen child, and she finally gets kind of taken into the shelter. And I love the artwork of just the desolation of the city that she's kind of going around in, and particularly this panel here where it's just she's walking along this wasteland. So I think
this looks very good. No spoilers for Endgame, but there's scenes that they could have had scenes like this in that would have given so much more weight. Like I can already see the effect on this story without really knowing everything that happens in it. The post-apocalyptic feel in a way, or the aftermath of a battle.
Yeah,
a rundown city, and just saying in Endgame they don't really show you as much of that. But in this, I like that. That's good in the story.
Fantastic. So anyway, that was what I want to share.
Yeah, right. I was gonna say, Preston.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Sorry, I was gonna say another. I don't know factor of Comicsgate side of YouTube or whatever, because He was saying like, I'm gonna start paying attention more to like the comic coverage channels I'm sub to. I definitely feel like that. Like I do keep up like the High Council.
Sure.
for different reasons, but overall entertainment, I feel at least our general movement, our feel, there's not much going for us anymore. It's, I think, we're slowly but surely people are kind of coming to my point of view of like entertainment's compromised. We need Comicsgate for film, not just like, oh, indie, but we need like, utilizing it within our fandom,
Sure.
content for the fandom. And so with Comicsgate and stuff, to whatever degree, I think it is a outlet for people that are willing to still read comics, still support artists and stuff.
Sure.
So yeah,
I mean, that's certainly what I mean, going back to what Ethan Van Sciver was talking about in December of, look, I've got a big platform and I want to promote people who have good projects, so bring them to me. But I mean, whether Comicsgate is going to fulfill the promise of freeing popular entertainment and comic books from the shackles of social justice, I mean, it remains to be seen. There certainly are some people who have had some great successes, but is it going to have kind of the broad appeal where we're moving everything over? I don't know. It seems to me like just and hanging out with the group and kind of talking with them to be very insular and to be kind of collapsing inward instead of reaching outward.
No, I can definitely see that problem. I definitely see EVS making a change for his name, like with the whole Dynamite thing, despite whatever background he has with them in the past.
Right.
Comics in general should be against him. So the fact that they're going to let him use their products to make like a quick buck off of him flipping it for a huger profit, I think shows, at least for him, he has transcended the stonewalling of his name. It remains to be seen if other people like Doug or Mike or whoever could breach that wall as well.
Sure.
But, yeah, at least EVS has transcended, and he's at least a beacon of hope for the Comicsgate idea of we can at least be adjacent with the industry, or something like that. But we need more than just that one guy. Right now, he's the exception, not the rule.
Right. And look, I have conversations with people who are both inside Comicsgate and outside Comicsgate about what it is and what it means. And I think when you boil it down, there are many people in the industry who are trying to get more success for themselves, as they should. And so at the end, it's a hashtag or a label, and you have to ask, okay, well, what does it mean? Well, I mean, it means one thing to the people who are using the label than it does to the people who are talking about the label. I mean, because like if I put like on my banner here, these are the banners I take to comic shows, and if I put like Comicsgate Presents or something like that, then that's going to have a very different impact when I'm approaching artists to talk about, hey, I need you to work on my book, because the perception they have is going to be different than the perception I would be trying to present to them. You understand?
I kind of see what you mean. I mean, it's like, because people would think that you're trying to present the Comicsgate idea instead of like your own. You're not as into your own thing for yourself, which in a way, yeah, when you're trying to have a partner, yeah, they want you to be invested in what you're doing.
Yeah.
As well. Is that kind of what you're?
Yeah. Well, I mean, but also like the Comicsgate has only been around for, like, I don't know what, like less than a year, I want to say.
A year and a half, I think.
Yeah. All right. And it's accumulated a fair amount of baggage, because the people who have essentially achieved the most success have been rather negative towards other people. It's not been an inclusive, like, hey, we're here making comic books. They've been kind of in other people's face, as we're going back to the Richard C. Meyer case about. And like, look, they're allowed to, but I look at it kind of like Howard Stern fans, like, Howard Stern had some rabid fans, but at the same time, if you identified like, I really love Howard Stern, that kind of put you off from really participating in some larger groups, because he was very polarizing at the time. Since then, he's kind of mellowed out, and maybe in time, Ethan Van Sciver will mellow out. But as kind of a small artist, essentially, the question becomes, it essentially becomes a math equation of how much benefit do I get from marching under the Comicsgate banner versus how much flack am I going to get from people I'm trying to work with, and for me, it's not worth it. So,
okay.
That's my opinion. And like, look, maybe that'll change a year from now. But I mean, going back to the thing that spawned the hashtag Gamergate, I mean, does anyone still use that hashtag? I mean, I don't.
I kind of doubt it.
Yeah.
It hasn't been on any fresh anything, as far as I could tell.
Right. So I mean, 2.5, 3 years from now, do we really believe that the Comicsgate hashtag is going to be active and in use, and there's going to be this big community of people who are ever growing and great to play with?
I kind of see it kind of similar to the Fandom Menace in a way. Like the Fandom Menace people were, kind of brought together for disliking The Last Jedi and whatnot. And then now it's like the same people that, were able to converse with each other in their dislike for The Last Jedi now don't spend all their time talking about it, talk about other things and things that we like. So it's like, in a way, like a lot of connections, I guess.
Yes.
Interactions get formed through this event. So, like, I feel like that's what's going to happen with Comicsgate in general. Will be, I don't know if the name will be thrown out as much, but the people that found each other through it and because of a response, will be around. And
that is probably what will last, are the individual relationships people make. But I think we got to say, or at least from my experience, the Comicsgate umbrella is just another popular culture thing. If you have an event like The Last Jedi that people hate, and they go on the internet and they're like, I freaking hate The Last Jedi. And they find other people that hate The Last Jedi. And then they bond over their hatred of The Last Jedi. And they come up with this label like, yes, we're Comicsgate, we're going to do whatever. But then some other movie comes out or some other pop culture thing happens or a terror attack. And then the attention goes over here. And then 2 years later, people are like, oh, yeah, you remember that time? That was the Comicsgate thing. So I don't know.
Yeah, I see what you mean. It's more, don't rely to be under the banner. Just be under yourself, or in a way. Yeah.
That's just how I approach it.
I get you. I appreciate that. Well, any last things you guys want to mention before we close out? Angus?
No, it was good. It's good talking to this guy. I look forward to hopefully getting on my channel in the future.
Thanks. Sure.
Oh, dude, you know what? I should. I'll have to send you a link. Are you on Twitter?
Yes.
Okay. I'll have to get your Twitter probably from the link or from Rookie. Send it to me and I'll hook you up with a channel. I had him on. He had a small Indiegogo. Didn't quite get funded, but he's got some good art. So maybe that could be someone else here. Might look at him and be like, hey, we should collaborate or something.
Sure thing.
All right, cool. So this is Pocket Jack Comics. And yeah, Indiegogo comes up tomorrow for White Lily. And I'll probably have you on again.
Sir. Kickstarter comes up tomorrow for White Lily.
Kickstarter, yes.
I was about to correct him.
Did I say Indiegogo or what?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
You're brainwashed by Comicsgate, you incel.
My bad. Yeah, so I'll probably have you on again at some point too.
That was happening yesterday on John Malin's show. He was like, and the Indiegogo's tomorrow. I'm like, Mr. Malin, it's the Kickstarter. He's like, oh, yeah.
I just meant to say campaign in general, but for some reason I said that. Yeah, there's other YouTube comics people that I wanted to have on with you as well, but they're all unavailable today. So another time I'll hopefully arrange that and we can, have a more different comic discussion with this too, with other people. I feel like the right questions appear for me when everybody's talking about it. So that's good. Right. So yeah,
well, thanks, everybody.
Yep. I'm going to close out now and everybody have a good rest of your day.